Welcome to another session of Introduction to Coaching Sports. This is our 8th series, and I am honored to have Coach Rodney Billups. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man, to be a part of this. I'm really appreciative of you doing this, my brother.
No, I appreciate you, Doc. And anytime you call, I'm gonna stand on the table for you, no matter what it is. And this one right here is easy. This one's easy.
I appreciate that, my brother. Well, before we get into these questions, I'm gonna give a little bit about your background. We know that you were I shouldn't say we, but I'm sure folks in Denver know that you were a basketball standout at George Washington High School in Denver. After you finished playing in high school, you had 1 year at LA Valley Community College, and then came back to Denver. Was a scholarship athlete at Denver University for 3 years. You played professionally with B.K Riga and Kouvot, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Kouvot. The town was called Kouvot.
Okay, over in Europe. And then, man, became the head coach at your alma mater, Denver University. And then, of course, I think you did an outstanding job there. I know how challenging it is at an institution like that. And I was very honored to just have an opportunity to come and see a couple of your practices and your games. And of course, then we know you're the younger brother of Chauncey Billups, the new Portland Trailblazers head coach. And I don't know, it's my hunch that I'm going to see you on some Division I sideline here quickly, or possibly working with him sometime in the near future. So let's dive into this. I am the co-author of Introduction to Coaching Sports with Chad Earl and former NBA player AC Earl. And in one of the chapters, Coach, we talk about the dimensions of coaching. And one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, how has the concept of coaching, teaching, and encouraging, student athletes, how has that changed in today's coaching society based on your perspective?
As a player, it was kind of like, when dad dropped you off, you're the coach's kid now, right? And you do as you're told. And no matter how that coaching, that communication came off, it's just how you listen and you do what you're told, right? You do what you're asked. And we at a young age, my generation, and forgive me, I'm right on the brink of a millennial, but I do not claim to be a millennial because of some of the challenges that we see. But when pops drop you off, no matter how the communication came off, your job was to get the message through the madness, and we learned that at a young age. Now, fast forward, 20 years or so, the generation is different, and it's all about positive coaching. It's all about positive reinforcement. It's not, you can't, yell and scream at a guy. You can't challenge a guy on the sideline or in practice, because just the mentality of the student athlete now is just totally different. And not that it's better or worse, it's just different. And we live in the information stage. So if they think for a half a second that what you're saying isn't right, they're going online and they're going to find out, whatever it is that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because you can shape, just like the word, you can shape it how you want it, right? And
yep.
It's tough in a lot of instances where the truth is just the truth.
Right.
And a lot of times these young people nowadays, especially in athletics, they don't like hearing the truth. They can't understand the truth, especially if you're motivated and you're emotional and you're in that moment of adversity, and it comes off different and it hits different. It's hard for them to gather that information and get the message through the madness. So it's challenging to be able to change your language, change how you smile, and to be able to communicate with these kids, because you have to do that. You have to. It's extremely important nowadays.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but I remember when I came to your first practice, and one of the things you said was that, hey, I'm changing my philosophy a little bit. I want to be a little bit more positive this year. I want to be a little bit more encouraging this year. And, and I know that was a change for you. When I coached, you could get after some kids and they responded, but I also, coached some in this millennial, and I know how important it was to give praise and encourage. And sometimes, you just want to kind of get after them as a motivating factor, but you really have to be conscientious about that, dealing on the personalities that you're dealing with, which is a nice segue into the next question. Now, do you believe when you give a student athlete praise, you should be specific with words that you use to praise them? I talk a little bit about this in the book, but how do you feel about that?
I think that you're right on point with it. It's one thing when you're demanding, right? You use specific words. You use comfort words, right? Words that are comfort for you, and it might turn them on or off depending on who that student athlete is. But when you give praise, you also gotta be direct. You also gotta look the guy or the kid in his eyes and say, "Hey, man, you did an unbelievable job." With whatever it is that you're commanding. But it's really important that there's a community around when you give praise, because silent praise doesn't matter anymore. You can't bring a kid in the office and tell him how good of a job he's doing, because it just doesn't. He or she needs everybody to understand that, hey, coach commended me on this and I'm doing it right. Because in the locker room they talk. They want to know, or they want the team or the program to know, hey man, coach liked what I did. So yeah, using specific words, using specific examples, but also giving a community praise.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I did is that for every conceivable negative comment in the players' eyes that I use, I always try to follow up with 3 positive things.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're very good to remember that one negative thing, but they only remember the 3 positive things that you said. And that's good information for the coaches who will be viewing this podcast and also the student athletes.
Doc, it's tough, man, because it's like a reputation. You can build it up and do things right 100 times in a row, and the 101st time you did it wrong, you do 99 more times right. They're always gonna forget. They'll always remember that 101st time when they did it wrong.
Absolutely,
it stings pretty bad.
I know one of the things that coaches talk about is with your team is trying to have an aggressive demeanor. Do you believe that displaying an aggressive team individual demeanor or team or individual demeanor, make you more successful during competition? I talk a little bit about it in one of the chapters in the book about, it can be positive, it could be negative. What has been your experience, coaching elite athletes?
Being aggressive, or the word aggressive, is subjective to each coach, right? And for me, aggressive means let's not be passive. Let's take what's in front of us. Let's not wait, right? Aggressive to some coaches means, let's get up in them. Let's foul with our chest and let's be extremely physical. That's not who I am. Being aggressive is, all right, let's not wait until we're down by 10. Let's start at the beginning jump circle and let's be aggressive to get our point across and our pace of play and how we play, versus just being super aggressive. So I think it's a positive. It's certainly not a negative. It could be a neutralizer, but it's not, certainly not a negative thing to be aggressive, because we practice things that we want to see or happen in the game, and you can't expect to get those things out of the opponent if you're not aggressive going after what we practiced.
Right. That's putting it in a very good perspective, Coach. Very good perspective. All right, our last question, man. What type of teaching approach did you have? What did you use? Did you, a game approach? I think athletes really love that game approach. Or did you have a whole part, or a combination of both? And if you're giving advice to coaches who are just embracing this profession or getting into it at whatever level, what advice would you give them?
You know, for me, I learned whole part whole. So not the reverse of part whole part. So, you know, when I got into it with Tad Boyle at CU 12 years ago, that's how we taught, right? We taught the entire thing, so you can see it, you can hear it. Hopefully you can grasp a small element, and then we broke it down to part. And you know, we broke down every specific detail, and then we came back together and did it the whole. So whole part whole. And that's how I teach as a coach. I want you to know what we're gonna do. I want you to see what it looks like when in a walking or 50% speed, and then we're gonna break it down so you get the detail of it, and then we're gonna compete, right? And that's how I've always taught. But you know, I think as a younger coach, I'm getting up in age now, but as a younger coach, it's really important to be able to do it all, right? Be able to coach every single kid differently. Every kid learns differently. Every kid responds differently to coaching. So being able to do it all is really important. But for me, that's how I like to teach, because it's easier in my experience, it's easier for a student athlete to understand when they can see it, they can hear it, then they can do it.
Right. And I apologize for missing, because I do know that you were with Tad Boyle at the University of Colorado as an assistant for, I don't know, what, 5 years? How many years?
Six
6
years.
years. Yeah.
6. So
Well, hey man, any closing comments if for our viewing audience that'll be looking at this, and it can be a general statement just about, you know, getting into coaching and what to expect at any level. I mean, because now it's so, you know, this is you know, coaching now is it's become very, very popular. You know, it's $1 billion business at higher levels. What advice would you give you know, some young coaches that are looking to get into this thing?
you know, don't be, if you decide to coach, or if you're coaching, don't be money motivated, right? Be for the athlete. Everything that you do and every move or decision that you make, and I've learned this through my experience, obviously, it has to be for the student athlete or the athlete. Once you start making it about you and making it about other things that are distractors, then you fail. And not only do you fail, you know, within the wins and loss column, you fail the student athlete. The student athletes, that they want to be coached. Don't be afraid to coach them. They want to be coached. At least the best players do. And you have to get that sweat equity. You have to make sure that they know that you care about them. Before you can yell at them, you know, you have to be able to care about them and let them know and understand that you care about them. All right. So I encourage it. I think there's a place in heaven for coaches, because coaches do a lot of things that parents can't do and won't do. And they spend so much time with the kids, especially at you know, at the grassroots level up to the college level. They spend so much time with kids. You know, unpack your bags, man, and stay a while, because there truly is a place in heaven for guys like you, Doc, and hopefully me and my entourage of coaches, because it's very rewarding, especially when you see those kids win or do something that you taught them and be successful with it. It's amazing, and that's my why. Why I coach, because I love to see the reaction of a student athlete when he wins.
Coach Rodney Billups, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the time. Love you, brother. And I am looking forward to you, man, getting back on some sideline. I know it's coming soon.
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
just appreciate you taking the time out, and much more success to you. I know that's coming, my man.
Doc, I appreciate it. I love you back, man.
All right.